Man, this really has been my year. First, the commentary community bites it, and now the skeptic community is about to die as well. And hey, I'm already a massive attention whore, so I might as well make a video about this. But Tom, didn't you say you hated bandwagons at the beginning of the year? You fucking hypocrite. Look, I know there's like a million of these fucking videos around. I know I'm a fucking attention whore, boo-hoo. But if I don't make this video, it'll make it harder for me to explain the shit I actually want to talk about. So, if you haven't been tuning into whatever the fuck's been going on for the past year or so, the skeptic community decided to go after the alt-right. And now, recently, they've been entangled in some kind of autistic holy crusade against them. So, why exactly are they going after them? What exactly is their beef with these guys, and why are they fighting a losing battle? I'll probably split this into multiple videos, because this shit is just too fucking amazing. Since it's not every day you get to see a community like this run itself this hard into the fucking ground. At first, I'll be addressing the faults of the community and explain why the individuals in question are behaving the way they are. And then in the next video, I'll give a case study or two where I'll be talking about their behavior, and trust me, this community is full of exceptional individuals. Now, who exactly are the skeptic community? Well, I'd say they probably go as far back as 2006 on YouTube, and probably even further back than that. Probably on some gay forum that no one's ever fucking heard of. And then as the years went by, it gradually morphed into the community that it is now. One of the main reasons the skeptic community is dying is because of the fact that they have no real targets anymore. The skeptic community started out on YouTube during the Bush era, when evangelicals wouldn't shut the fuck up about God, and if you play fucking video games, you're apparently cursed by Satan or something. This understandably pissed off a bunch of people. So you'd see a shitload of videos on how God is bullshit and how religions like Christianity and Islam are bigoted cults that are stupid because Genesis never happened or some shit like that. Then, around 2013, the feminists and social justice warriors started to pop up all over the goddamn place, especially on Tumblr. This especially fucked the atheist community with the Atheism Plus, which is something I'm not going to waste my time talking about. But in 2014, Gamergate was the real tipping point. And as a result, a new group of individuals eventually rose. People like Sargon, along with other fuckers that were still around, would make videos rightfully shitting on these pieces of shit. And now we reach 2016. Criticizing SJWs for the same dumb shit that they do over and over again gets stale. Everyone knows that they're stupid, entitled, and smell as well as look like shit. Everyone knows that radical Islam is bad, and that we need to prevent the caliphate. We get it already. When it comes to the internet space, there is no real argument about this. This shit's already been settled. But then a new group began to gain prominence, especially during the presidential election, the alt-right. The alt-right consists of people who are much further to the right than most. There is a significant group of alt-righters that may be considered lolcows in a sense, not to mention everyone and their mother has thrown shit around like racist, Nazi, fascist, and whatnot. And from what I've seen, a lot of them either don't care or embrace those terms with open arms. Either way, this led the skeptics to believe that these people are below them because for some reason a lot of skeptics think the horseshoe theory is actually applicable to the real world. And that's simply not the fucking case. Their assumption of the alt-right is what led them to go after them, to some degree. They believe that they are the antithesis to the SJWs, something I have heard way too fucking much now. This means they can make more content and keep their community alive. And that's actually pretty important, because the community is on its last legs at this point, and that's something else I want to get into. Perhaps it may not be a case of the skeptics/anti-SJWs thinking that the alt-right is just another easy target in their crosshairs, but perhaps they're worried. Ever since the election of Donald Trump, the paradigm has been shifting further and further to the right, and this is a problem for a community that's mostly centrist or left-leaning. It doesn't help that people in the community, such as Mundane Matt, have such a massive fucking ego for thinking that they're the world's most red-pilled fence-sitter.
Hey everyone, my name is Mundane Matt, one of the most red-pilled motherfuckers around.
They address problems with the world, but don't really offer an actual solution, because then that might reveal their political alignment. And as we know, the skeptic community is too high IQ for people like you and me. We get fucking eviscerated by their big brain logic, because We pick sides, and that's for fucking idiots. We already know that most of the well-known figures in the community are very liberal anyway, and that all the fedora memes get used like copy paper, so they decide to play it as safe as possible. That way, they have a better chance of drawing an audience. This was the first mistake that they made. They have absolutely no extreme. And when you have no extreme, there tends to be a lot less people following it, because then it feels soulless. No one wants to involve themselves with a community that's far more concerned about being right than having a concrete stance on anything. People like the alt-right have a much firmer stance on different beliefs and offer more to the table than skeptics. And because of this, they have a kinship between one another for the most part, whereas the skeptics seem to be more of a hug box. They give more of a shit about hurting someone's feelings and keeping to their norm as much as possible.
Over time, the movement picks up speed and public attention and more content creators. As this happens, the quality somewhat stagnates, and we begin to see an influx of people white knighting the women, and the rise of pretty girls telling you everything you've already heard before, except often with less depth or explanation than the channels that started doing this sort of stuff when it was less popular. And these cute girls will tell you everything you want to hear and get hailed as geniuses, and anyone who dares disagree gets hit with the "why do you hate women?" or "you're just mad or jelly because this girl is smarter and more popular than you," and other such white knighterry. And then it fractures into basically a social justice side and a non-social.
And if the alt-right continues, they'll outcompete the skeptics, and then the edgy 14-year-olds that make up 90% of their fan bases will gravitate towards the alt-right instead of the skeptics. And it doesn't help that members are starting to disassociate themselves with the skeptic community and associating more with the alt-right. This leads to another problem. Skeptics are well known for being egocentric and full of so much hubris that they believe they can do whatever they want without any knowledge on the subject. One of the people who have fallen into the state of egocentrism, see what I did there, is the armored skeptic, where he makes dumb content where he believes he's smart and informed, and then you actually read into what he says, and everything he says on the topic is... There's also the whole issue with VidCon that happened earlier this year, when a lot of them met their targets face to face and realized that they weren't absolutely terrible people in their eyes. Some of them ended up falling into the trap of adopting their principles and tactics, which is definitely something I want to get into in the videos to come. The less than satisfactory behavior of the skeptic community is well documented on the internet for everyone to see and judge, and a lot of people, especially members of the alt-right and trolls, are well aware of how stupid many of them are, as well as all the bullshit that's transpired with them, like Gamergate and the Candid incident. And like I said, the paradigm has been shifting away from the center. In real life, that is. On the internet, it seems to be shifting further to the right. And as that continues, less people want to involve themselves with the skeptic community, as there's an alt-right or new right, or the Trumpian keck fags like Milo Yiannopoulos and Stefan Molyneux, and instead they will be mocking the skeptic community like people already have, as well as the latter communities. The skeptic community themselves are becoming the new lolcows of politics, and they're well aware of this. And at this point, they'll become another punching bag for us on the internet to enjoy. And they don't want to look like idiots. I don't think any community does. But exactly, you don't get to decide your fate. Another reason, and probably the biggest one, is monetary gain.
Believe me, go look at this for yourself, Bull. Go look at the people who are prominent figures right now in Gamergate, and see how many of them have Indiegogo campaigns, how many of them have Kickstarter campaigns, how many of them have Patreons, how many are have ad revenue on their fucking videos. Everybody's making a buck, and they're all making a buck doing the same shit the people we were supposed to be fighting against were doing. They're crying harassment and then making money off of it.
You know how I talked about the skeptic community's notoriety during Gamergate? Gamergate caused one hell of a stir during 2014, and it seemed like a good opportunity to jump in and talk about it, because if you do, you know you'd get a shitload of views, and they knew this, so they capitalized on the whole thing. Not to mention, it seemed like these guys who just jumped on the ride weren't entirely on their side. Rather, they were just there to make money, and it's rather telling, considering they talked just like the brainless liberals who were talking down to everyone at the time. Same thing happened with the whole Trump fiasco too. What really backs this up is the Candid incident, which is a video for another time as well. Their greed is what's keeping them from getting people to trust them, just like the alt-right. So we've already established that they greatly underestimated the alt-right, mainly through ridicule, and that the skeptics are very opportunistic to the point where they will either constantly regurgitate shit that's desperately put into relevance or whatever's trending, and that these guys have very well-known flaws that they simply aren't willing to fix. And this is especially a problem considering what I mentioned earlier. how they want to stay as relevant as they can, because if they don't, they'll lose all of their Patreon donors, and all those funds from Kickstarter would end up being for nothing. They would lose their job and their main source of income as a result. And then comes the nightmare of every YouTuber, going outside and getting a fucking job. At the end of the day, what do you think matters more to them? Their fans or their money? The alt-right does have this problem too, however everyone there thinks that Richard Spencer or whomever is probably a sellout. So to summarize, from the way I see it, they're going against the alt-right because they're worried that they may A, lose all relevance and by extension, their job, B, become the new laughing stock of the internet, or C, sell out and seek profits over everything else, which will ostracize the community, leading them to do A or B. And the skeptic community will lose against the alt-right because A, almost nobody likes them anyway and everyone's sick of their shit, B, they refuse to reopen the pool of discussion, C, the alt-right has more facts and figures to support their claims, D, their underestimation of the alt-right has made them lazy, and E, they look even sillier than the alt-right because of their desperate cling to moderation and centrism, meaning they have no real conviction. Now, why may I think all of this? Well, to answer that, I'll have to tell you a little Christmas story. And like every Christmas story, it starts with a little white girl and an angry German and a pack of... Man, this